We're looking this week in our broadcast concerning the death of Christ. So far we've looked at who put him on the cross, and we've seen 4 different principles that were involved there. We looked at the meaning of death, and both that Jesus suffered both physical death and some form of separation from the Father, probably a fellowship level that we might call spiritual death. He tasted that for us in ways that I believe is beyond our full understanding. But why he bothered? Why did he go to the cross? Why suffer these spiritual agonies, these physical agonies for us? Why allow yourself as the Son of God to endure such things? And so we're going to look at that the next 3 days together. The first one is in Galatians chapter 3, if you have your Bible. And we're going to look at the fact that we have been redeemed from the curse of the law. He went to the cross to redeem us, to save us from, to rescue us from the curse of the law. So we're going to look at starting with verse 10 of Galatians 3. And notice the problem that we ourselves, we are under the curse of the law. It says, "For as many as are of the works of the law are under a curse. For it is written, Cursed is everyone who does not abide by all things written in the book of the law to perform them." So the law of God, as we find in Romans chapter 7, is holy and righteous and good. It's perfect. It's God's law. The problem is, as Paul said in that passage, is we are not perfect, and therefore we cannot keep the law. As a result of that, we're under the curse of the law. The law was very clear. If you kept the law, you were blessed. If you broke the law, you were cursed. And because we cannot perfectly keep the law, we are under the curse of the law. Therefore, we are condemned. So as human beings, we are condemned by the very objective, clear presentation of the law of God that shows us the perfect standard of God that we cannot keep. So we're under the curse of the law. Now, we move on. The law also, because of that, verse 11, cannot save us. Now that no one is justified by the law before God is evident, for the righteous man shall live by faith. No one is justified or made righteous or saved by the law because we're not capable of keeping the law. If the standard for salvation, if the requirement was perfectly keeping the standards and the law of God, we're all forever doomed. None of us can do that. None of us can live up to that standard. And therefore, the law, as good as the law was, is incapable of giving us righteousness. But thirdly, faith can. The conduit to God's salvation is faith. He mentions faith in verse 11. Then in verse 12, he says, "However, the law is not of faith. On the contrary, he who practices them shall live by them." So he's opening that door to let us know what the law could not do, Christ could do for us, and we receive that gift by faith. We don't receive God's gift of salvation on the basis of our good works, our merit, our keeping of the law, because we can't. But we receive his perfect gift of deliverance, of righteousness, by faith. We reach out and we take that gift by faith. Then he moves on to verse 13, and he talks about Christ's provision in all of this. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us, for it is written, Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. So our topic this week is Christ's death, and we're looking at the significance of that death. Why did he die for us? Well, verse 13 makes it very clear. In order to redeem us, which is the idea of rescuing us, delivering us from the bondage of sin and the bondage of the standards of the law that we could not keep, Christ had to become a curse for us. He redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming that curse for us. He took the curse that we deserve, the judgments that we deserve, upon himself. And he became that curse for us. And it says here, it quotes here, "Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree. That's Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 23. Nowhere in the Old Testament, nor really in the Gospels up to the final hours of Jesus, does it ever say how Jesus was to die. We have many indications he would die for us in the Old Testament, and Jesus mentions it several times while he was on earth, but it doesn't give the instrument of that. It doesn't tell us how he would die directly, but it does tell us that he would, this indication here that one who hangs on a tree would be cursed, and the cross would become that tree upon which Jesus would be hanged as a curse for us. Then it moves on and gives in verse 24 the broader provision. It's not just about the Jews, it's about all of us. In order that Jesus Christ, the blessing of Abraham, might come to the Gentiles, so that we who receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. And so the redemption from the curse of the law through Jesus Christ is not just unique to the Jews. It's not just for those who grew up in the system of the law of the Old Testament. It's for all of us. Christ died on the cross to redeem us, to set us free from the curse of the law, both Jew and Gentiles. None of us can live up to his standard, but he died in our place. He took our curse upon himself. So that's the first significance that we see this week about what Jesus has done for us in dying for us. We'll look at another one tomorrow.